Hello, my lovely spectators. Didi here. Welcome to my studio. So today is Friday, so we're going to do a flip through Friday with a let's make something from it extension to this video. So the flip through Friday is hosted by Gwen the Trash Witch. And so basically, our idea is to just come to the table with something interesting to show us all. So I happened to stumble on this book. I order a lot of books from thrift books. My information about that is in the description box. And, they also throw recommendations. So this had come up and I was like, okay. And the pictures are like tiny on my phone. And so I just was like, every now and then, I take a chance. And so it said Wildflowers of America. And so I said, let me see what we're gonna get. So when it came, I was happily surprised. It is 400 flowers in full color. So I was like, great. It's from paintings, so they're not photos. By Mary Vaux Walcott, and other paintings by Dorothy Falcon Platt. Don't know if I'm saying those names correctly, but try my best. So it's got a nice cream colored cover and a nice spine, so that's cool because can be utilized once the book is taken apart. And yes, we shall be doing so. Nice patina. And this book is actually from, let's see, copyrighted in 1987, so a bit old. Yes, considered vintage. All right, so not too much going on here except a couple of sections. So let's take a look real quick. We're just gonna flip through. So this whole beginning part, we do have a lot of words with nothing, and then we have some index pages. So those items are good to utilize in collaging, backing of imagery. Depends upon who you kind of watch and see. A lot of people have ideas for these type of things. So we've got some nice font as well, black highlighted or bolded versus normal type. So that's cool. But that's only this part of the book. Did I show you? The book is like, boom. It is actually an inch and a half deep. So we have plates 1, 2, 400. So the plate has information down here. I'm not sure what that is for. I'm sure that the beginnings would tell me what it was. But then we have our images. So it's got a bunch of really interesting oh, I get it. It tells you what it is. Mountain Hemlock Siga Mertensenia. And then it says MVW, which is the person, which is Mary Vaux Walcott. There we go. See, it's very easy to decipher these things. So we've got them. They feel like they're slightly shiny. Very subtle kind of sheen. So the book is full to the brim. So the only thing that is kind of, I guess, disappointing in the standpoint of utilizing this in our junk journals and things of that nature is the fact that we have one image on one side and another image on the other side, and so we need to pick and choose. I know that I have in the past tried to make use of both sides by creating windows and tags with windows so that the other part can be shown and the tag could have stability by having some cardstock or something of the sort. So yeah, so this is what we have going on. And so sometimes we have two different items on one page, one different item. Also, I noticed that like they're cut because I guess the original is just up into that, maybe since they're paintings, that's where the framing was. So a ton of variety, great botanical, no extra text on there. This doesn't even have to be kept, right? So it has potential for a lot of things. And being that it's a bit older, I believe, let's take a look. Yes, these are sewn in signatures. So we're going to be able to take out a signature without a problem and utilize one. So this is a really nice find if you can get your hands on it. Trust me, it was not more than about $7. If that, because I stick with that plan. I'm a teacher. They have a promotion for teachers. So if you buy 4 books under 7 or 5 books under 7, then one is free, or 5 books and then the one under $7 would be free with their code. And then when you join up their literary, I teach math program, reading program, whatever it is, points reward program, you know, once you make a certain number of points, you get a free book. So again, and that would be under $7. And that's how I roll. I love a good coupon. I love a good deal. So yeah, so this is my book, and I want to take us on a little bit of a ride and actually see what we can make out of one. So let's see if we can get one signature out. But here it is again, Wildflowers of America. Great cover, even if it's a little shiny. We could still use this. Even this image can be taken out and you can glossy get rid of the gloss with a little bit of, I guess, what do you call it, clear gesso, that, you know, matte gesso or whatever, something like that. All right, so let's just find the middle of the signature if we can. And so I'm just trying to find the center. I think this is the center right here. And is it not quite yet? Here we go, almost. There we go. So what we're looking for is, I'm sure you guys know, the threads, right? So we want to take the threads off and being able to cut through them. So I'm looking for my things. Hold on. Sorry, the sniffles. Don't know why. All of a sudden, I get the sniffles before, you know, somebody goes and tells me, blow your nose again. Don't, yeah, this is not working either. I have to find, since it's really, like, it almost feels like it's never been opened before, which is a possibility. So, looking for something that would make this easy to open. Okay. The first one is always the most difficult, so I'm gonna bend this back. I'm gonna see if I can get this guy without damaging the pages too much. So I just want to get access in there. Let's hold it up again. Yep. Okay, almost. We have one more to, I think we might have it. Let's see. Nope, not completely. Okay, so I was able to catch one. So this is like a double, it's been double stitched, I guess you can say. And this is still not getting close enough to it. Okay. I don't want to keep you here all day, so I'm gonna go a little bit more aggressive. Just gonna cut that a little bit. Probably should have just did it like this from the beginning. Again, I'm not trying to cut too much of the book itself. Okay, this should be good. So what we'll do is we will take the front and the back here, and they come out just like that. Okay. So let's see. gonna take out a few. I'm not gonna take out all of them because I just wanna, what kind of things would I make from this is what I kind of want to do today. So as I've been doing some journal making on screen, I've been looking at the ephemera that I've built over the past year with challenges and stuff, and I like to go a little bit kooky, and so I think that my go-to aesthetic when putting together a journal, which is something that I still have to do, bring back one of the ones that I made using the fabric covers or the hardcover and all my pages that I've been setting up, is to then, okay, so this is the thickness of a signature. How can I tell? Because when we start having a little bit of glue, it's between the two sets of signatures, and so that's where we're at. So I'm just taking out one signature from this book and put this book to the side. Great resource. Let's take a look at what we have here. So one of the things I guess you would want to look at to see what your option would be is the size of the actual book pages. And so let me straighten you out just a little bit. Bring you down a little bit, sorry. Looking at this, we have a book page that is 8.5 wide by 11. I love it when you find books like this because most of the time, if you can get a clean edge, you can actually put this into your printer, which is fabulous. So if you were able to get your printer, get a program or something like that where you can actually like maybe make just a border, then you can just print the border and add a little more design to this. So just one suggestion. So let me take, these are complete, right? They weren't separated at all. So let me just put this to the side for a minute. So I would want to clean up like this kind of an edge. And so I would take my trimmer, my cutter, whatever you want to call it. I'm not gonna pull out my trimmer. I'm gonna try to clean this up a bit, right, and keep it as close to 8.5 by 11 as possible. Okay. So you can really customize this if you wanted to. So again, we're looking at this, we have it at 8.5 practically, and it is by 11. So imagine this page right here. Okay, so now most of the time we're 8.5 by 11 for the journals that a lot of us make. We would take this and we would easily look at it and say, okay, I'm gonna fold it in half, and we can create a signature page, rather, a page for our signature. And so depending upon how big the image is or how pretty the image is, filling the page, this might work out. This is where if it fits into the printer, we can add a little bit of fun and detail around the edge. We could also, put labels. We could do a lot to the page. So I would look for one that had a little bit more on both sides if I was going to use it as just a folded page. So this one would not, this side looks nice, gives you a little bit more, but the inside would be very minimal. So let's take a look and see if we have any that are better for that, and we'll just leave that as that. Nice chunky images, but very blank on the side. So this one might work because it has a nice one like that. This would work probably because it has that, and the other side of it was a pretty decent sized image. So let's grab, let's see. You know what, let's just do that to this one too. So so like I said, if you have a nice big book like this, 8.5 by 11, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to harvest it out, and I'm going to get myself as many 8.5 by 11 pages that I can just use straight up as pages as a signature page, right, with no muss or fuss. or minimal mustard fuss. So if I were to fold this in half, right, that back would be this guy here. This would be one of the pages. This would be another page. And then with this one, similar, right? This would be the page, and that would be the back, and then the other greenery would be on the other side of it. So we're just gonna fold it in half and be like, this is the first type of thing that we're gonna be able to get. Now, I wish I had the ability to have my printer available right now, because I didn't think to set it up at this point in time. So we can stick this into our journal, and we would have this page nice and there, and we would have this one. Let's just do it to this one as well, so we'll pull 2 pages out of this one signature. Okay. And that's because they do have a little more fullness. And then this is not so full, but it's okay. And then we have that, and then we have that. So 2 pages. So actually, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This was actually a 6-page or 6-sheet signature. So full sheet of 11 by about 17, because it's a tabloid size. If you have 2 8.5 by 11, it's tabloid. So you have 6 of these full sheets, making 12, making 24 sides, right? Okay, so what else can we make from this guy here? So let's look at this one here, right? This is really pretty, and the inside is, inside being like, this is what I'm thinking of, right? We can make ourselves a envelope. Okay, so what we'll do is, maybe stop saying so, is that this can be brought up here, okay, to create the beginning parts of it, and this can be brought over to make the flap of our envelope. Okay, since we have so much of this, we can also shorten it a little bit and also make it a little more substantial in terms of the feeling of it by going like this and adding this thickness here, right? If we don't like the words, but we don't mind the floral, right? What we can do is we can also fold over that envelope edge, and that way we have a little bit more stability because it's a little thicker. Okay, so that's going to give us an envelope that is roughly 1, 2, 3, 4.25 high, but it is going to be 8.5 wide. That's going to be a little bit too wide, I think, for our book, for our journals, which my journals are usually 6 by 9, because I take the 8.5 by 11, which in half is 8.5 tall, right? That's really big. And then 5.5 wide. So width-wise, this would fit nicely into like some kind of a pocket or something of that nature. So because we have a lot of white here, what I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to put my page over here on my grid, and I'm going to cut off about 1 inch from both sides. Okay. I could even make sure that I'm doing like 1.5 inches, because I want to make sure that I cut enough, but I think I'm just going to go with the inch. Okay. And so, okay. And so maybe once I've done one, and I know that this is a possibility, I might think about going through the book and finding a lot more images that have not a lot going on in the back, where you don't feel like you're losing too much. Okay. All right, there we go. So, and these strips, right, perfect for adding journaling space. So on normal white paper, I wouldn't keep it, but since this is a little bit aged, a little bit tarnished, patinaed, I'd keep these to add to journaling pages, or journaling spots, because if you have used book textbook or book text, book page text, boom, then you might want to have some of that to cover up and afford a person place to write. And that's a little thing that the first place that I saw that at was with Ms. Gale. So you'll see, if you watch her, you've seen those pieces that she's made that have those strips of paper on top of busy images in order to lend itself to having a person have a spot to write. Okay, so I'm just gonna put adhesive on the spots that are for reinforcement, right? And then I'm not gonna go crazy making a super official kind of, envelope. We're just gonna glue up the edges right here and right here, close to the edge. Nice bead of glue. And then squish it out. Get yourself a tissue if you feel like you need that. Okay. And there we go. We have our little envelope. So we can put a few goodies in there, or whatever the case is, and we could decorate a little bit, maybe attach a bird or something to it. I know that for most people we would consider this the front, which it is. Here, because we don't have an official closure, you could put a little Velcro dot. Let's see, do I have access to my Velcro dots? Let's see. Too much stuff. Okay, I don't know where they are. They're someplace, but you can put a Velcro dot. You could also just put a round circle of some kind of cardstock or something like that, and put it where it's glued halfway here, and this can just tuck underneath it, right? So with this one, we can put like a little label up here and maybe like a nice bird or something. So you could make signature pages, you can do simple envelopes. Okay, let's look at something else here. This is another one that's the other side of it, right? So I would make another envelope, but we don't always have to make those kind of envelopes. We'll make a coin envelope, right? So with the coin envelope, again, we have this, which is like, if it's gone, we're not going to stress it too much. So we're going to take this 11, let's look at it this side, and let's break it down, because now the coin envelope could be, it's narrow, right? And it opens in the top. So I want it to be this way, so I know that I need it to be less than 8.5. So we're gonna take this down to here. Let's cut that off first. This is taking this down to 9 at the moment. Okay, and so we will save that for that loveliness. And then I want it to be at about let's see, I'm gonna do, let's do 7. Okay, 7 here. Okay, and again, we'll save this because we have lovely little bits on there. So now what we want to do is we want to fold this into a tri-fold. So I'm gonna go past half, right? Because I'm also going to bring this, and I kind of want to have that seam be in the center. So I'm just going to loosely do that until I feel like it's in the center, and then I'm just going to take one of them and commit. Okay, then fix the other one so that everything lines up, since we cut everything nice and straight, and commit there. Okay, so this is our seamed area, this is our front. Okay, make sure everything looks like it's lined up correctly. I think it's a slight bit off here. Okay, All right, yeah. So now we will need to have a portion that comes up. So we're just gonna freehand about a ½ inch. That's about a ½ inch using my grid on the bottom here. And then we're also going to have to put the top. So I'm gonna do that as like about an inch or so. Okay. So with our book pages, we have a lot of potential. All right. Okay, so now, once we've done that, we need to open it back up because there are going to be pieces that we do have to get rid of. So we're needing to get rid of anything that's going to add bulk. So again, this is our flap and that's our flap here. So these extra little corner rectangles need to be gone. So you don't have to get too precise. Actually, let me just do it with a scissor. You need to, if you can see the score line, here's your score line. You're going to do a slight angle, maybe 30 degrees to the intersection point. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, not too much. You don't want to go too crazy. And then the same thing here, a slight little intersection here, a slight little marker to the intersection there. Okay, and these little pieces, what you would use them however you see fit or trash them. Same thing over here. We're gonna do a slight little slant to the intersection there, and then again on this side we're gonna do a slight little. Okay, so what that's gonna do is that's going to give us a little bit of space away from the crease and down here as well, but when we fold this up we're going to cover that space, and then this is going to come down. So now you have choices. You could just cut it straight around the corners, or you could cut it straight, do a little bit of a tag kind of situation. You could try to cut them on a slant. If you're going to do that, I would suggest softly bending this together so that this little, you know, the sides are, the seam is, whatever, not the seam, the fold, the score mark, the bend, whatever it's called, and your top piece from your intersection, right? And you would just kind of together so that they have the same angle, if that makes sense. Yeah, there we go. All right, so now you would have something like this, and maybe this, after you've done, is like, oh, that looks much nicer. You know, let's see if we did that. It'd be a very white envelope, but I think I'm gonna stick with all the beautiful decorations and have this peekaboo here. If you want to ink it, you can ink it now. That's the case. It's up to you. Now, the first two that you're going to are the tall vertical ones. You're going to put the adhesive on. You put it on the one that's going to lay flat. You put it all the way to the edge. Okay. Put your nice little line. And then this one is going to come over. So you also put that to the edge. So that overlap is going to have two lines of glue securing it together. Okay. There we go. Okay. And if you know that there might be some smushage coming out, whatever, once you've kind of gotten it down, if it pops up like this, right, you know that you're not, you know, you double check that you didn't glue it to the inside. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing here. We glue the perimeter of the flap. That's all we need, because it is a little bit elevated. We don't want to glue to the inside. And then same thing, press our bad boy down, so we're not going to be worried about it gluing the bottom there. And then we have our little flap right there. Okay, and so you could add a little decoration here, and you could also do the same thing and add, I think it's a little crooked, but it's okay. Yeah, she's a little crooked. I don't know what happened there. I fix this a little bit. I don't know. Nope, that's not gonna work. Okay, we'll leave her like that. It's okay, it's handmade. right? So you can put a little decoration here, and then you could also put another little decoration. Maybe you put a butterfly, a bird, something that goes with the botanical. So you can make this kind of envelope from a book page that is 8.5 by 11, because we're using it like it's a regular piece of paper, but pre-made decoration. Okay, now let's say we have a page like let's see, do we have something again that's a little light? Maybe like this. Okay, so we don't necessarily need to cut it apart. We could actually use this seam and put our signature together, right? I'm just folding it over for this, no reason in particular. And we know that we need to do 8.5 by 11. So what we could do is we could do the same thing we've been doing before. And we can take our 11 size paper, and let's see here. Oops, avalanche. Not really, it was remote controls. Okay. And we're going to cut off a little bit from the top and the bottom. Okay. So I'm gonna cut off from the top and the bottom. This is 11. I wanted an 8.5, right? It's just a little bit shy of 11, but it was good enough. 8.5 would be here. That's too much. So we're going to do, let's do 1.5 inches from the top, from the bottom. Okay, so I'm just lining up on my mat, 1.5 inches. Okay, so this is another thing that I do to make signature pages. And mind you, I'm not saying that I am originator of any of this. I'm just going through my little thought process with you guys, turning it around so that I could find my 8.5 right here and there. Okay. Okay. And so now we have something that is opens like this. And what you can do is, remember, we can make a signature from one of them by turning it on the side, right? What we can do now is we can actually take these guys and do a fold over, right? And we can create either a side tuck or an opportunity for a flip. So let's mark where that is. So we're gonna do, so we have our 8.5, right, tall, and we want to do our 5.5 from our length. So we'll go to 5.5, which is about here. Not about here, it's here. Okay, and we're just gonna give ourselves our folding line. So you know, just pressing up against it with our fingernails. So now we could think about folding it and taking a look at how it affects what we have going on. So we can have a page like this, right? That looks good. That's okay, but we lose all of that. If we're upset with that, we maybe want to flip it, but maybe it doesn't afford us any better. Okay, so we'll think about that side. Here we have this, right, with our other images. So let's take a look at what we have going on here. So we can look at that like this. We have that. We have this lovely page. If we turn this over, we lose most of the image. So I think that for this particular book, my go-to would be to add something else to make it a flip, or shorten the page. So even if I was to shorten this right here, you're still not going to see much of that guy. If I shorten it over here, you'll see a little bit more. Okay, this one I could shorten a decent amount and be able to see that other one. So let's do it on this side and we'll see how that works out. Okay, so let's see here. Let's take off, so this is 1, 2, 3-ish. So we're gonna take off 1, 2, 3. We're gonna take off half of that, 1.5. Let's start with that. Okay, so again, more usable stuff. So we didn't lose that flower, and now we still have some of this flower. So here's where you can put this down and make this a tuck. This paper is pretty solid, so I wouldn't worry about it needing a reinforcement. So we're just gonna put adhesive on the bottom and adhesive on the top. Okay, making it close because the floral will have this, which is cutesy. We've got plenty of blank space around it for other things to do there. It's, you know, it's an okay image. So I'm not, you know, too sad about, you know, losing it, because it's not what to me was, to me, you may love it. To me, it wasn't the prettiest little flower in the bouquet, so to say. Okay, so now we have this, and when you open it, you would have a little tuck on that side. Perfect. So now with this one, maybe I don't want to lose so much, right? So I'm going to just cut off where the line of the picture is. So I'm going to follow that line itself. Okay. Okay, and then we're not going to want to cover that because it may be, you know, it's pretty. It's pretty. And so we don't want to cover all of it. We're losing way too much, I think. And this side, even though we took off some, we could do this because that is kind of nice, even though it's by itself like that. But I don't want to lose this. So on the other side of the page, okay, and again, I'm still on the fence about, like, when I'm making signature pages, which is like what this is what I would call, whether or not they need to be symmetrical or the same on both sides of what's going on there, so that there's balance within the signature. I'm still on the fence about that. I still don't know if that needs to be the go-to formula. I'm just looking to see if I have anything we can just, you know, show you to add there. So let's say, for example, I had some fun tissue paper that I want to add as some crinkle here. Right, I could do that. So we would, let's see here. Yeah, we would take this paper. This is actually feels like it's wax paper, so let's see. We're going to play. Okay, from here I want 5.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Okay. You know, I should probably check 3 times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Yeah, so I'm gonna just cut that 5.5. Okay, nice, nice. I'm gonna just put that over there. It just happened to be sitting there. And I'm gonna wanna place that in here. So it'll give us a nice little effect. Now, if you don't want anything sticking outside of the height, then we need to adjust that height as well to the height of the page. So this seems to be not quite straight. So let's find the more straight side of the two, which I think is this side. Yes, okay. And holding this here, I'm going to cut this off across this edge here. Now to attack and attach. To attack this task. To attach this, right, we can do a number of things. We could put this here to and completely and put it like as if it's a pocket over here too. Don't know how well this would hold up, right? We could put it like this, and then it would give us this little texture of you know, being lighter and stuff. We could have, maybe we'll adjust that right now, is to just put it here because it's just going to be a flap of texture. And since it's wax paper, I want to try, let's see what this happens. Let's see what happens, guys. We're going to try using some tape, some double-sided tape all the way across, and see how visible that is under this wax paper. Okay, so I'm just adding it right as close to the edge that I can without hanging over this way, right? Sorry, I'm a little out of frame. Right here, without hanging off this way. And then we're going to cut off this little guy right here. And this one right here. Okay. And now it does feel like there's a more wax here, so like this is a little more shiny, so I think I'm gonna put the little bit that's a little bit more dull, so that doesn't have that shine to it. So I think I'm gonna start there, and so I'm only revealing a little bit until I get it lined up with my tape up to there. Okay, and now I can take this off, and now I can continue, and it should fall nicely. You know, I wouldn't rush it, just gently pat it down. Beautiful. I don't feel any sticky. Lovely. And then this will be a flip-in right here. Okay, and we do need to shorten this a little bit, or maybe not. Maybe we just have it so that it'll add an extra little layer of crinkle. We'll just do something like this here. And if we want to be cutesy, we can add another piece of decorative element. Let's see. I think we're gonna just play right now. Let's just play. Let's say we go and we put a piece of gold washi right on the edge here. Oopsie. No bueno. I'll kind of let it go. See, that's coming off way too easy, so I don't think this is gonna stay well. Okay. So I think we're gonna need to put a little bit of adhesive, just in case. So let's do that and see if that helps. And here's the fun thing: if this fails, right, because we're trying something, we can just cut that off, because this is the extra little that we were trying to keep just to make it fun and interactive, right? Okay, so let's take it off here so I'm not dealing with a whole roll. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna try to come up to the edge as much as possible. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, I know I'm pressing it excessively, but I'm also trying to spread out the glue that's there. So now we can see that there's a little bit of bubbling up. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put a piece on the other side, and that'll solve that. And this is the more papery side, I believe. So I'm gonna see how that handles not having extra glue. Okay, so we're going to bring this up to the edge again. To the edge. Yeah, there we go. All right, and now let's just trim off that little extra bit. And trim off this little extra bit. Okay. And now we have a signature page that we can put into our journal that has this little flip and this little decorative little piece right here, which is the other part of the flip. So we can just, you know, we're going through it, we will come to this, and we have this really cute whatever kind of flip. And then this, you can journal all over that because it's such an open white space. Right? So it doesn't always have to be. You could also put another decorative element here and also decorate even more on that side. So flip outs are definite, right? So we've got a few things. Let's see. We have another page. Let's grab another page. Okay. Let's take this one. Okay. So again, we want this page to be 5.5 deep. So we'll take a look at where that ends right here. So that ends about here. We would have all of this. 5.5 would be this. 5.5 would be probably that, and a little bit of that. So I feel like that's not a lot to lose. So what you would do is take your 5.5 mark and cut off those pieces. Those pieces are going to be, again, about 3 inches, right, or so. So what's going to be great is that you can actually use those as belly bands. You could use them as edge tucks, right? So you would just back them maybe with something a little bit heavier, some cardstock or something of the nature. Okay, so let's just take off, okay, that. So like we can definitely use as a belly band. We'll cut it down to the height we need, add a little more decoration, this as well, this, right? So maybe we use this side and this side more so than this side and this side, but you have usable pieces. Now, I cut it like this, so it's kind of falling along the lines of this, right? But it's too long. So this is if you want your images to be upright and vertical, because remember, when you take an 8.5 by 11 paper that has a picture on it, our images are going to be sideways. So to kind of change it up, you can do that by taking it from the middle of a section. But you can also, instead of taking this to 8.5 and cutting it, let's take it to 8.5, right? Here we go. Okay, so instead of saying, oh, let me just cut this off, we could also just, again, push this up so we have our 8.5 mark, open her up, and then we can actually make built-in pockets. Okay, now of course if there's words, they're going to be upside down, but we can always cover that with any kind of sticker or washi. You know, I might go ahead and say, oh, let me put some more of that washi here because I'm making, you know, things that kind of go together. Looking at this, this actually feels like it could be a good complement to the Edith Holden books as well, because of the coloring. The paper is not stark white, and you have a little bit of that patina. Okay. Alright, there we go. Just making sure that it's not lifting all over. Okay, and just because we'll have a nice finished edge and it's a pocket, I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to fold this over, and then I'm going to glue our pocket up. So we can make our pages have our images be vertical. Okay, now in terms of the center, if you're sewing it in, I don't know if this would be too much bulk here, but I'm just gonna leave it, right? So I'm gonna be able to fold it like this. Okay. And I feel like, oh, it's a little bit long, it's a little off, so I guess we're gonna clean up the edge and lose a little bit of that tape, but that's okay. If it really feels like I'm missing it, I can always just add another little piece. So here we have our page, we open it up, we have a built-in pocket. On the other side we have the pocket, and then we have this page we can decorate. So that's another way to take your pages from these larger books and make something interesting. Okay, and so let's see if there's anything else that we can do. We have 2 more sections of this left over. So you could pretty much do anything out of this that you would like. You could make an actual regular envelope out of it. Let's see here. What can I use? what would be more pretty, more cutesy. Okay. All right, let's take this guy. Okay. And so to take a page, right, we can also make a regular envelope out of it. So we know that our page is 8.5. So I'm going to cut that down slightly to get rid of this. I'm just going to clean up this edge. So I'm going to make it 8.25. So I'm going to take 1/4 of an inch off. I'm just trying to get it nice and smooth down here. I haven't the space up there to do what I need to. All my little scrappies are in my way. Okay, let's get some of the scraps out the way. So we're going to take off 1/4 of an inch. Okay. Alright, and then what we're going to do is we're going to grab this and we're going to get 8.25. Okay, so what I might do is I might include this just because it'll go flipping flopping everywhere, and then keep something that's a little more open and not as busy. So I'm going to do 8.25 here. So we're trying to make a square. Okay. Okay. So have that for something, belly band, etc. So now you have your square. So now, because there's a lot of greenery and stuff like that really going on here, this is probably going to be my outside. Well, this would be my inside. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a ruler. You can take a pencil because that way you can erase after the fact. And we're going to do our little trick that I know that you've seen, and I'm going to reference the one person that first time I saw it, which is Margaret over at Margaret at 7 Plaza. A little line in the center. So this helps you to find, mathematically helps you to find the center of the square, because you're making the two halves in each direction. So you would have triangles if you drew the whole thing out. If you need to, you can, and probably might be helpful if it's the first time. Let me show you that you're going to be doing this, and that's going to be to kind of, you know, lightly extend it, because you're going to need to follow suit on it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to want to go up and up, etc., right, to the intersection. And so we're just trying to figure out what would be a nice cover, like the first page, like the you know, the point that gets covered down. So I think, speaking about this, I think this one is the most nice one. So we're gonna take our point up to the intersection here. Okay. Then we're going to take our other one to the intersection there. Okay. Okay, so right now these will be our sides. So we're going to have, this is the cover, and then this is going to be the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to want to bring this up. Well, I should say this is the bottom. We're going to bring this up. Try to keep this coming down. We don't want it to fill in the hole. You want it to be a little bit higher, like 1/4 of an inch maybe over here, right? Because you want to have a closure. And I drew the line a little longer so that we can make sure that we actually can follow it. Okay, so we got that going here. So now we have the bottom of our envelope. Now we're going to bring this over, maybe slightly more or the same. It's up to you, however you would like it. And with this one, we're just going to make sure that these lines here look good. Okay, so I'm just gonna reinforce those folds because we are going to take out little pieces for bulk. Okay. So when we open it up, okay, what we need to do is, since this is the top, right, we definitely know we want to erase this, but we may want to go all the way down. The paper is nice. We can erase. We didn't press down too hard. We made no kind of permanent markings here. Now, there is going to be a triangle in each of these little sections that we want to get rid of. Okay. Some of you may be able to use where I'm looking for my notch maker. Excuse me. So you can get rid of the triangle. If it fits in here, it'll make it look nice. So what you're trying to do is make sure that the lines, either they line up or they're the same distance on both sides. And then when you notch it, you will get most of that triangle out in a nice, even, balanced way. So again, if I go here, I'm looking to put it in my notch, and then I'm looking to make sure that my little wings here line up with these, and if they don't line up exactly, that they're the same distance apart. And now we'll get a nice little notch there. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing here. Or you can just freehand with a pair of scissors up to those intersection lines. Okay, there we go. And then here we go, one more. Okay, so that now we can actually fold it, and if we want to have that more finished look, then we can actually do our little rounding of the corners. Okay, I think my notch maker has seen better days. She didn't like that. I gotta try that aluminum foil method. I don't know, I feel like it's never really worked. So now we're gonna have these two come in, and this is gonna be the top, right? And then this is gonna come in. Now, it's a little awkward over here because the notch maker didn't go as far in because it really couldn't. So you maybe do wanna like kind of clean up this one if it's too much. So I went a little bit bigger than 1/4 of an inch, which is why this kind of likes 1/4 of an inch from my experience. So, alright. Oof, nice. Oof. There we go. Alright, and then we're just going to adhere everything. So these two will go in. They don't touch, so you're not really going to put glue on those, except for to put glue around this edge slightly. Okay. Okay, slightly meaning that you don't want it to go too high, but you could just double check because it does peek out. We can go all the way up to the corner. Okay. Okay, so you just double check that. And so that's going to get in here, and then you want this edge, right? Like the coin envelope, you want this outer edge to be down, so you'll get 2 layers of adhesion there. So we'll hold this down, bring this up. Okay. Only thing you had to be careful of, which I wasn't, was to not put glue on the tippy tip right here. So let me wipe that off and go back to pressurizing this right here. Okay. So here we have our envelope ready to go. And what you could do is take a little strippy of the piece that was left over. Do I have something that's kind of small so I don't have to cut into anything? Right? This is longer. Kind of, yeah, sort of. Not really, but let's just do it. Let's just use it. So all I'm doing is trying to make myself a little piece of paper that's a little skinny rectangle over here. I'm gonna put adhesive in here so that it keeps it closed. Okay, and then what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help myself make it a closure without having to use a glue dot or anything like that, something that is reusable. So what we want to do is we want to fix this here, okay, right there, so that we can pop our little envelope in there. So we're going to do this, okay, and since it's a white piece, I'm going to put it on the back. I'm going to put it on the front, but then I'm going to actually use that as the back. So I don't want to get too close to that. And then we're going to bring this down to, actually, sorry, the other thing I forgot to mark is where it goes. Okay, so we marked where there is, and then we can mark right here. So now when I go and turn this over, right, I'm gonna put it there and the same amount on both sides. There we go. Look at that. Hi. Set. This is barely art, so very movable. Okay, I'm gonna take that out, let this adhere, and again, just gonna take that little tiny mark off. Okay. So now we can decorate over here, and then we just slip that in there to help us keep our envelope closed. Okay, so I think I'm gonna leave you here because this has been a very long video. It's turned into an hour, and I want to apologize for that. But you know, once you get going with ideas and wanting to show the things that I've been doing, it just got off the rails. So if you're still here, thank you so much. I appreciate the support and the continued viewing. Please like the video if you did stay this long, and comment on what else would you be able to do or could do to book pages. I still have one whole connected sheet and a half a sheet, so we do have that going on, but we were able to make a regular envelope, a vertical signature page with pockets. We can get vertical, we can get horizontal signature pages, so we got 2 of those from a single sheet, right? We also were able to get a coin envelope, this kind of envelope, and then we were able to do a nice little fun flip and a tuck. So, you know, the variety and creativity, just wanted to share. Nothing is new. Not claiming that I ever invented anything of this, but I just wanted to show you some of my process. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. You'll come back and visit again. But like I said, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I am trying to get to 500, but I'm also trying to get to, I need like, what is it called? 782 more watch hours. Oh, that's a lot. But anyway, I'm hoping that I eventually will make that. So yeah, so until next time, ciao, bye.